Welcome back to another tutorial in this series. We're going to be looking at starting our coding journey. In the previous tutorial we created our GUI. If you're not up to this stage, have a look in the comments below. You'll be able to find a link to previous tutorials. But let's get underway. So to start our coding, what we need to do is pick an object on the stage. In this case it's going to be our event trigger, which is the dice roll. When you double click this, it'll actually open up the programming window. As you can see, it's opened up a private sub with btn roll dice that we created using our naming conventions earlier. What we'd like to do in here is actually see if the button's working. So we're going to use a command called msg box, and as I type you can actually see it come up below. So message box is a command that we use to just prompt a message to the end user. So we're going to use quotes in here and put www.lmarsden.com, and then when we hit start we can test to see if the line of code works by clicking on the button. So when I click roll dice, the message box comes up with dice tracker and www.lmarsden.com and click on OK. Remember to stop the program. You can either hit stop here or stop up here on the menu bar, and that takes us back to the coding. We can switch between the code and the GUI by just selecting the tab at the top. There is also another output window for the developer. We can actually use a debug.writeline. Now as I'm working through these menu systems, you saw that I typed WR and a list come up. I use the arrow keys down to write line and then I push spacebar, and that will write the line of code for me. Then I can use a bracket and I can put this is in the developer area. And then when I click out of this line, you notice it snaps together. So by using the arrows and using the spacebar, I can actually select commands out of a list. That improves my typing accuracy, also speeds up my development. So now what I should get when I run my program is a message box, and then in the debug write line area, in the developer window, I'll actually see this is the developer area. So when I start my program, the window opens. I'm going to hit roll dice. Here is my message box. Then I click OK, and I can't actually see the output at the moment because you need to head down into the call stack. On the right hand side you see output down the bottom corner here. Click on that. If you scroll to the bottom here, you'll actually see this is the developer area. If I click the button again, so I'll go back and start it again. Once you've done that, the developer window will stay open. Click on OK. You see that's stuck on output now. You can see this is the developer area. If I click roll dice again, click OK, it writes another line in there. So my program's working well. So the next thing I want to do is have a look at my GUI, and I want the user to actually enter in a dice size. So in this box here. Now you remember from before it has a name, and it's called txt dice size. And we're going to take the information from this text box, what the user types in here, and we want to display it in this text box here, which is called txt output. So once again, I'm going to head back to my code. I'm going to comment out these two lines of code. I'm going to just use a single quote and they turn green, and now the computer won't run those lines of code. Underneath those lines of code though, this is where I'm going to write my commands. Now, because I'm taking something on the GUI, I need to store it in a variable. So I want to take dice size, store it in a variable, and then I want to output what they type in here from the variable into the txt output area. So let's go do that. So first of all I need to determine in memory iDice size. And by using Hungarian notation, you notice that iDice size is different to txt dice size, and therefore we don't get reserved words being used. And this is going to be declared as an integer. Now that I've declared it an integer, I can make it equal something. So I can go iDice size is equal to, and I want to take the information from the text box called txt, and like I said before, using notation, you can actually see now I've got all my text boxes called dice size, but in particular I want to get the text area. Now the only other problem you can have is because we're taking the text and trying to store it in iDice size, which is an integer, text is like characters, but an integer is a number. So we need to make sure that we int it. And what int will do is take the text from the text box, turn it to an integer, and then store that in iDiceSize. And just to output that quickly, we're just going to go MSG box bracket iDiceSize and display that on screen. Now remember, these lines of code won't run now, but what I type in that text box should appear on the screen now. So if I put the dice size is 6 and click roll dice, it shows me 6. So that 6 has been taken, put into a variable, and then displayed back in a message box. Now to output to a text box, we need to use the name of the text box. So once again, it's txt output. And we want to write to the text part of that text box. And we'd like that to be equal to iDiceSize. Now iDiceSize at the moment is an integer. A text box needs text. So we need to convert the iDiceSize into characters or a string. So we use another command called dot to string bracket bracket, and that will convert iDiceSize to a string and put that in a text box. We'll comment out the message box. So now it collects the information, displays it in the text box. So if I put a 5 in here and go roll dice, 5 appears there. If I put 55, it goes 55. Or if I put a basic 6-sided die in, it's a 6. So that's how we can actually take information from the GUI and output information to the GUI. Hope you found this tutorial useful. In the next tutorial, we'll look at declaring variables and collecting all the information we need to create our dice tracker program. So give it a like and subscribe to my channel, and also have a look around for other useful Visual Basic tutorials.